Yuuya was an ugly fatso loser who got bullied every day at school. Even his own parents treated him like trash. But one day, he opened his bathroom door that led to another world. There, he gained cheat level skills and got transformed his body into like a Giga Chad. Then, he started rizzing every girl he met, who wants to marry him and have little Yuuya Juniors. This all starts with a girl being harassed by a group of guys, and then we meet Yuuya, a boy who tries to stand up for her. But instead of backing off, the men start making fun of Yuuya, calling him ugly fat ass, and they end up beating him up. Eventually, the police arrive, and the men take off. The girl thanks Yuuya for stepping in, but he just says he's okay and walks away. We learn that Yuuya's grandfather always taught him to be kind and to help others. When Yuuya gets home, we see that his house is covered in mean painting. It turns out Yuuya has been bullied his whole life. Even his own parents didn't treat him well because, unlike his good-looking siblings, Yuuya was considered ugly. Middle school was even worse, where he was constantly picked on. The only person who cared about him was his grandfather, who kept telling him that being kind would lead to happiness. When his grandfather passed away, Yuuya inherited his house and savings. His parents tried to contest the will but failed, so they abandoned him, leaving Yuuya to live alone and work part-time to survive. Yuuya is about to graduate middle school, but his yearbook is filled with hurtful comments. As he's leaving, his bullies stop him and remind him that even after graduation, he'll still be their errand boy. Yuuya tries to leave, saying he needs to get to work, but they beat him up anyway, while his brother and sister just watch from afar. When he finally makes it to his job, his boss is tired of him being late and fires him. Back at home, Yuuya eats a sad meal, and when he looks in the mirror, he loses it and smashes the mirror, frustrated that nothing seems to change, even after graduation. He punches the wall in anger, and to his surprise, a hidden room is revealed. Inside, he finds all sorts of strange items, which he assumes are things his grandfather collected while traveling. He discovers a mysterious door, and when he opens it, it leads to a strange new room. Yuuya gets freaked out when a notification pops up out of nowhere. As he reads it, he realizes the door leads to another world. He starts getting all these notifications explaining different features, like how he can store items and control who can use the door. Even though he's confused, Yuuya thinks it's like a video game and checks his stats, but he's disappointed to see that they're all really ugly like his face. He looks around and sees that he's really in another world. He finds a note on a table, and although he can't read it at first, he suddenly gains a language skill that helps him understand it. The note explains that the house belonged to a powerful sage who left it to whoever finds it, along with everything inside. The house is protected by magic, so only the owner can get in. Yuuya discovers a bunch of weapons in the house, and as he examines them, he realizes they're all incredibly powerful. He goes outside to practice with a sword but ends up falling, although he does manage to learn a basic sword skill. Thinking it might be useful, Yuuya trains with the weapons and discovers they're all top-tier items. He gains several skills, but his stats still stay at level 1, and he wonders how to level up. He puts the weapons away in storage, but suddenly, a monster appears. Yuuya is terrified, but he remembers that the house is protected by magic. The monster, a level 300 bloody ogre, tries to break through the barrier but fails. Yuuya decides to fight back and throws a spear, which pierces the monster and kills it instantly. The spear returns to him, and the monster disappears, leaving behind a bunch of items. Yuuya's level shoots up to 100, and he's shocked by his new stats. After putting all his points into his stats, Yuuya decides to call it a day. As he's leaving, he notices an option to cash out, which converts the items he got from the monster into money. Yuuya is confused but happily takes the money. That night, Yuuya experiences a shocking transformation. When he wakes up, he realizes that his body has completely changed, and his clothes no longer fit him. Confused and unsure of what's happening, he remembers that his mirror is still broken, so he starts looking for something to wear. He finds some magical clothes in the sage's house that adjust perfectly to his size and come with various magical perks. As he wonders who this mysterious sage might have been, he decides to explore the garden. Suddenly, a level 200 slime monster attacks him. But this time Yuuya stays calm, pulls out his spear, and easily defeats the creature. The monster drops some coffee slime and a rare necklace that can restore his magic power. Yuuya levels up again, gaining a new skill that allows him to detect others' presence, bringing him to level 150. He tries the coffee slime and is surprised at how good it tastes. With some of the money he's earned, he orders a new uniform to be ready for high school. Yuuya spends the next few days fully immersed in the other world, training and learning everything he can. He begins to enjoy himself and even forgets about how depressed he used to be. When an elite goblin attacks his house, Yuuya, now much stronger and more skilled, fights it off with ease, using a special move to defeat the goblin. Time flies, and soon it's the first day of high school. When Yuuya arrives, everyone is immediately drawn to him because of his new look, and even his siblings are amazed. In class, his old bullies approach him, but they don't recognize him and assume he's a new student. When Yuuya tells them who he is, everyone is shocked and can't believe it. Later, Yuuya finally sees his reflection in the bathroom and is stunned by how much he has changed. After class, Yuuya's brother and sister confront him, demanding to know how he transformed so drastically. But they still insult him by calling him a loser. Just then, a limo pulls up, and the girl Yuuya saved earlier steps out, looking for him. Yuuya is surprised and wonders who she is until she reminds him of how he rescued her. She introduces herself as Kaori and says she wanted to properly thank him, revealing that she found out more about him. Kaori invites Yuuya to join Aosei Academy, a prestigious school for elite students. She explains that she's on the student council, and that her father is the chairman of the academy. Yuuya feels honored but doubts he's smart enough to attend such a school. His brother tries to intervene, claiming that he and his sister are better than Yuuya in academics and sports. But Kaori shuts them down, saying she knows all about how they mistreated Yuuya, and that they're not welcome at the academy. Kaori reassures Yuuya that Aosei Academy values character just as much as intelligence, so he would fit in perfectly. She offers to show him around the school, and they drive off, leaving his stunned siblings behind. When they arrive at the academy, Yuuya is amazed by how impressive the school is and how accomplished the students are. He meets Tsukasa, the chairman, and Kaori's father, who thanks Yuuya for saving his daughter. Yuuya tries to downplay his actions, but Kaori insists that he was the only one who helped her. Tsukasa invites Yuuya to join the school and even offers to cover his tuition as a thank you. Yuuya hesitates, thinking he might not belong at a school full of geniuses, but Tsukasa encourages him, saying that everyone has their own talents. He suggests that Yuuya try attending the school for a day to see how it goes, assuring him that through challenges and fun, he'll eventually discover his own strengths. A teacher named Sawada, who Tsukasa introduces as a famous scientist, enters the room. Despite her impressive background, Tsukasa mentions that her classes are popular because they are easy to understand. As Yuuya prepares for his first class, he worries he might be in over his head, but he reassures himself that nothing could be worse than his old school. When he introduces himself to the class, all the students seem shocked, not because of what he says, but because of how good-looking he is now. Yuuya takes a seat at the back of the room and ends up sharing a book with the girl next to him, who seems to tsundere. He worries she might not like him, but Kaori is hopeful that Yuuya will fit in. As the class goes on, Yuuya realizes it's actually pretty normal, except that the students are way more active and engaged than what he's used to. During their break, a group of curious students start asking Yuuya questions, like if he's an idol or has a girlfriend. It quickly becomes overwhelming, but a student named Ryo steps in and stops them, then takes Yuuya to the cafeteria for lunch. Yuuya is amazed to see the menu and finds out that all the food is free, making him feel like he's dreaming. They sit down with another student named Shingo, and as they chat, Yuuya is surprised to discover they share a love for anime. While eating, Yuuya notices everyone staring at him and assumes it's because his uniform is different. Shingo asks if Yuuya is in any clubs, but Yuuya says he isn't. Ryo mentions he's not in a club either because he's good at so many sports that he can't decide on just one. Shingo reveals that he's part of the gaming club, and Yuuya is surprised they're allowed to have consoles at school. Shingo explains that as long as they don't play during class, it's fine. Talking about video games helps Yuuya feel more comfortable with them. At the end of the day, Yuuya meets with Tsukasa and admits that he had a great time, deciding he wants to join the school. As he leaves, he runs into Kaori, who asks if he's joining. When Yuuya says yes, she's happy and invites him to hang out after school. They visit some shops in a popular area, and Yuuya wonders if this is where she usually hangs out with friends. Kaori explains that she doesn't go out much because people tend to avoid her due to her family, but she feels different with Yuuya. Feeling a bit nervous, Yuuya follows Kaori to a crepe shop. He's relieved that he has money from the other world to cover the costs. They enjoy their crepes together, and Yuuya wants to try more flavors, but he worries about gaining back his old weight. He asks Kaori how she recognized him despite his transformation, and she explains that while he looks slimmer, his eyes are still the same. She offers him a bite of her crepe, and though a bit embarrassed, Yuuya accepts. He then offers her a bite in return, and she shyly takes it, with some nearby girls thinking they look adorable together. Later that night, Yuuya returns to the other world, fully armored and ready to face more monsters. Even though he's still a bit scared, he fights them off and reaches level 235. but notices his progress has slowed down. He decides to leave his house to find tougher challenges, thinking back on his time at the academy. As he steps outside, Yuuya hears a scream and rushes toward it. He finds a group of soldiers who have been brutally killed and spots a level 200 goblin general. The goblin is clearly dangerous, but Yuuya also sees a girl hiding behind it. He throws his spear, but the goblin deflects it. In a quick move, Yuuya jumps and slams down on the goblin, defeating it. Just as he turns to check on the girl, she warns him about another goblin behind him. Yuuya gets knocked back and realizes this goblin is both stronger and faster, but he doesn't give up. He uses his spear to vault over the goblin, fires arrows from his bow, and finally switches to his sword to slice the goblin in half. Afterward, the girl faints and Yuuya hears people approaching. He uses an invisibility skill to hide as knights arrive, searching for the girl. It turns out she's a princess named Lexia. Back at home, Yuuya thinks about the recent event where he saved that girl. He's a bit worried, wondering if she's alright, but since the knights came to help her, he figures she's probably fine. As he looks down at his shirt, he realizes it might be time to buy some new clothes, especially since he's got some money saved up from his adventures in the other world. His current shirt is enchanted to stay clean, but he thinks it would be good to have more options so he doesn't always look the same. When Yuuya goes to the mall to do some shopping, he notices that people keep staring at him. They're probably thinking he's some kind of celebrity or model. It feels strange to him, since he's not used to getting this kind of attention. Meanwhile, in another part of the mall, a director is having a bad day because a model named Sho hasn't shown up for a photo shoot. Sho's manager gets a call saying Sho is on his way, but the director is frustrated because everyone else, especially their other model, Miu, has been waiting all morning. The shoot is supposed to be a couple's theme, so they can't start without both models. The director decides that, instead of waiting around, he'll find someone else in the mall to replace Sho. As Yuuya walks around, he feels a bit overwhelmed by all the clothing choices. Just then, some girls come up to him and offer to help him pick out clothes. That will never happen to you, because you never leave Yuuya's house. Yuuya, feeling a little unsure, thinks they might just be trying to sell him something, so he politely turns them down. The girls are left stunned by his kindness and start whispering about him as he walks away. Yuuya wonders if he handled the situation right, but he decides to keep shopping on his own. The director, still searching for a new model, spots Yuuya and immediately thinks he's the perfect person to fill in. Without hesitating, he approaches Yuuya and explains the situation, asking if Yuuya would be willing to step in as the male model for the shoot. Yuuya feels a bit nervous but agrees, understanding that a lot of people are depending on him. Soon, Yuuya is posing as the boyfriend for the photo shoot, wearing different outfits and trying to follow the director's instructions to look more confident and stylish. Miu, the female model, notices Yuuya is a bit stiff and reassures him that he's doing great, especially for someone new to modeling. Her encouragement helps Yuuya relax a bit, and he starts to enjoy the experience more. As the shoot continues, Yuuya becomes more impressed with how professional Miu is, even though they're about the same age. For the next shot, Miu has to get really close to Yuuya, which makes him even more nervous, especially when the director asks her to get closer. Despite feeling awkward, Yuuya tries his best, and a crowd starts gathering to watch them. Meanwhile, in the other world, Princess Lexia can't stop thinking about how Yuuya saved her life. She decides she has to go back to the dark forest to find him and thank him in person. Even though her knight warns her about the dangers, Lexia insists on going back, and the knights reluctantly agree to go with her. Back at the mall, the photo shoot finally ends, and Yuuya is exhausted. Miu thanks him again for stepping in at the last minute. As they finish up, Yuuya accidentally chokes on his drink, and Miu offers him her handkerchief. Yuuya, feeling a bit embarrassed, hesitates to accept because he's sweaty from the shoot, and he doesn't want to use his sleeve since the clothes aren't his. Miu then shares how she got into modeling, explaining that her parents were always busy, so she started modeling to get noticed. She also mentions that she kept doing it because she realized she could make people happy with her work, and that gave her a sense of purpose. Yuuya listens and is impressed by how passionate and dedicated Miu is, even though she seems so young. While they're chatting, the director takes some candid photos of them, capturing their natural interaction. Suddenly, Sho finally arrives, and the crowd quickly gets excited to see him. Sho approaches Miu, trying to pressure her into going out for drinks after the shoot. Yuuya can see that Miu is uncomfortable, so he decides to step in. Sho, annoyed by Yuuya's interference, tries to punch him, but Yuuya easily dodges the attack and throws Sho off, leaving everyone around them shocked. Yuuya worries that he might have caused the scene, but to his surprise, the crowd starts cheering for him, thinking he's really cool for standing up to Sho. The director, who recorded the whole thing, tells Sho to leave, and Miu thanks Yuuya for stepping in, revealing that Sho has been stalking her for a while. The director mentions that Sho's ugly behavior might finally catch up with him and could even end his career. He then asks if Yuuya would be interested in doing more modeling work. But Yuuya, feeling that modeling isn't really his thing, politely says no. The director respects Yuuya's decision and, as a thank you, gives him all the clothes he modeled during the shoot since they can't pay him in cash, because he's not a professional model. Yuuya thinks the experience itself was enough but accepts the clothes. Miu hopes they can work together again in the future and wishes Yuuya good luck. As they leave, the director remarks that Yuuya could have been a star if he wanted to pursue modeling, while Miu quietly blushes, thinking about Yuuya as she's get rizzed by him. Back at home, Yuuya organizes his new clothes, still unaware that the photos from the shoot are already making waves in the modeling industry. Talent agencies are buzzing with excitement, eager to find out who this new face is. One particularly determined agent orders her team to track Yuuya down before anyone else can, impressed by how naturally he performed despite being a complete beginner. In another part of the world, Lexia's knights are in a tough fight with goblins. The battle gets even more dangerous when a goblin sneaks up behind Lexia. Just when things seem hopeless, Yuuya shows up and takes out the goblin in an instant. The knights are shocked to see him, and Yuuya easily defeats the rest of the goblins. Lexia is thrilled to see that Yuuya is real and not just a dream. After the fight, Yuuya helps one of the injured knights. Lexia approaches him, saying she came to the dark forest to tell him something important. Yuuya is curious, but then she surprises everyone by asking him to marry her. The knights are stunned, especially Yuuya. Owen, the captain, reminds Lexia that she's a princess and that they don't know much about Yuuya, but Lexia insists she's in love with him at first sight. Yuuya interrupts their argument, saying it's too dangerous to stay in the forest. He invites them to his house, and the knights are surprised to learn he actually lives in the dark forest. When they arrive, they're amazed by his home. Owen introduces himself as the captain of the Arzelia Knights and introduces Lexia as the first princess of Arzelia. Lexia thanks Yuuya again for saving them, and Yuuya starts to get nervous now that he knows she's a princess. But they tell him not to worry since it's not an official visit, and he's their hero. Yuuya introduces himself, and the knights think his name sounds unusual, guessing he might be from another country. Lexia fantasizes that Yuuya could be royalty from another land. But Owen is more cautious. He explains that they came to find Yuuya because Lexia didn't get a chance to thank him after he saved her the first time. Lexia admits she's been thinking about him since then and again asks him to marry her. Yuuya feels overwhelmed by the sudden proposal, thinking it's too fast. Lexia, realizing that love isn't easy, decides that they should start as friends instead. Yuuya, feeling a bit nervous, agrees. Owen then mentions that the king wants to meet Yuuya at the royal palace to thank him in person. Yuuya hesitates but agrees after Owen insists that it's a royal order. The trip will take about 5 days, so Yuuya asks if they can delay it because he's about to start a new school. Owen says they're happy to wait until Yuuya is ready. As they leave, Lexia tells Yuuya to be prepared because she's determined to win his heart next time. Meanwhile, in the royal capital, a man reports to a masked figure about their failed attempt to kill Lexia. The masked man sent assassins after her, but they got lost in the dark forest and were killed by monsters. The masked man is furious and warns his follower not to fail again. He takes off his mask, revealing a scarred face, and it's clear he's part of the royal family. With anger in his voice, he vows to get revenge on Lexia. Back at Yuuya's house, he marks the date on his calendar for his upcoming visit to the king. After that, he puts on his brand new school uniform and heads out for his first day at the academy. As he walks, people can't stop staring, thinking he might be some kind of famous model. When Yuuya arrives at the academy, the director greets him but quickly apologizes for not being able to chat, telling Yuuya to just enjoy his time at the school. Yuuya is introduced to his class as a new student, and his friends Ryo and Shingo are happy to see him. Later, during a soccer game, a student named Roy is dominating the field, scoring goals and getting cheers from all the girls. Yuuya watches from the sidelines, impressed by Roy's skills. A girl named Keat approaches Yuuya and asks why he's not playing, and Yuuya explains that he doesn't have his gym clothes yet. On the field, Roy makes a clever move, passing the ball to his teammate Akira. Akira charges toward the goal, ready to show off his special move, but he messes up and accidentally kicks the ball straight at Keat. Yuuya reacts instantly, stopping the ball and even scoring a goal in the process. Everyone is shocked by how quickly he moved. Yuuya checks on Keat to see if she's okay, and she's left speechless by how cool he is. Akira rushes over, apologizing to Keat and even offering to be her servant to make up for his mistake. Teed reassures him that she's fine and politely declines his offer. Ryo chimes in, saying Akira is just a bit quirky, and Akira thanks Yuuya for saving them both. Later, in the locker room, Kaori is getting ready for gym class while the other girls are chatting about how amazing Yuuya is, calling him prince-like. Teed shares what happened on the field, and the girls start wondering if Yuuya has a girlfriend. Kaori and Ki both agree that nothing has happened yet. During the next class, Yuuya waves to Kaori, who's out on the field, but suddenly, a group of delinquents rides in on motorbikes. The students immediately recognize them as the Red Ogres, a notorious gang in the area. Yuuya is shocked to see that his brother Yuta and sister Sora are with them. Kaori is confused about why they're at the school, and Yuta points her out as the director's daughter. Kaori recognizes Yuta and Sora, and they reveal they're there to get back at her for letting Yuuya into the academy. Kaori warns them that the police are on their way, but Sora isn't worried and plans to kidnap Kaori as revenge. Things look bad as the gang surrounds Kaori. Yuuya feels a wave of fear, remembering the bullying he endured from them. His friends notice that he's frozen with fear, but Yuuya manages to snap out of it. He suddenly jumps out of the window, surprising everyone since they're on the 4th floor. Yuuya lands safely and charges toward the gang. Yuuya confronts his old bully, Araki, who taunts him, saying he's going to teach Yuuya a lesson. Araki sends his gang members after Yuuya, but Yuuya easily dodges their attacks and disarms them in seconds. Araki tries to take him down, but Yuuya brushes past him, focusing on saving Kaori. Just as Yuuya reaches her, a massive guy named Omori steps in his way. Omori charges at Yuuya, but Yuuya doesn't flinch and throws him aside effortlessly. Yuuya finally gets to Kaori and checks to make sure she's okay, but the gang leader comes at him on a motorbike. Yuuya dodges just in time, causing the leader to crash. The police arrive just as the leader is knocked out, and all the gang members are arrested. The students are told to return to class. Yuuya makes sure Kaori is alright, and she suddenly feels faint, but Yuuya catches her, and they share a quiet moment. Meanwhile, Yuta is furious that the Red Ogres got beaten so easily, but the gang leader, now awake, starts choking him, blaming him for their failure. Sora tries to stop him but gets kicked aside. Just as things get worse, Yuuya steps in and breaks up the fight, saving Yuta. The gang leader tries to attack Yuuya again, but Yuuya stares him down, making the leader back off. The other students are amazed by what just happened, but everything finally calms down. Yuta, shocked that Yuuya saved him, asks why. Yuuya explains that even though they've treated him badly, they're still family, and he couldn't just leave them to suffer. Touched, Yuta and Sora apologize for everything they've done and ask for his forgiveness. Later, Yuuya's friends join him, apologizing for the chaos caused because of him, but they're also impressed by his bravery. They're especially amazed that he jumped out of a 4th floor window without getting hurt. Yuuya decides to explore the other world, but recalls a warning from Owen about how the Dark Forest is the most dangerous place around. The forest is full of monsters so strong they could wipe out a whole city. Curious about the sage who used to own his house, Yuuya heads deeper into the forest, hoping to find tougher monsters to fight. As he's wandering, he hears a cry and spots a puppy being attacked by a huge orc. The puppy is surrounded by a strange dark energy, but it's clearly too weak to defend itself. Yuuya watches from a distance and sees that the orc is a level 600 orc king with a massive attack power. He thinks there's no way he can beat it and considers leaving the puppy, but as the orc keeps attacking, Yuuya can't just walk away. He remembers how his grandfather would always step in to help, so Yuuya decides to give it a shot. He charges at the orc, thinking he'll at least try to distract it, but to his surprise, he defeats the orc with a single hit. Feeling a bit embarrassed for being so hesitant, Yuuya recalls the time he beat a strong ogre, when he was just level 1, and starts wondering more about the sage who made such powerful weapons. After taking down the orc, Yuuya checks on the puppy, but it growls at him. He offers it a potion, but the dog passes out from exhaustion. Yuuya quickly treats the puppy's injuries, and it starts to warm up to him. Yuuya tries talking to the dog and finds out that it's all alone with nowhere to go. Feeling sorry for it, Yuuya offers to take the dog in, and the puppy happily agrees. Suddenly, Yuuya gains a new skill, the taming skill, and the dog becomes his new companion. When Yuuya checks the dog's stats, he's amazed to see that it's actually a level 500 black Fenrir. Yuuya decides to name the dog Knight because of its black fur, and the dog excitedly jumps on him. They head back to Yuuya's house, where he examines the items dropped by the Orc King. Among the loot, there's an S-ranked magic stone, along with the Orc King's sword and armor. The gear is too big for humans, but it might be possible to reforge it. He also finds a rare brush that stimulates hair growth, which he uses to brush Night. Yuuya checks his own stats and realizes he's still at level 235, which he finds odd since he just defeated a level 600 monster. He figures he'll figure out how the leveling system works eventually. Back in the real world, Yuuya leaves Night at home and goes to school. He asks his friends if there are any pet shops nearby, mentioning that he just adopted a dog. Teed gets excited and asks to see pictures, but Yuuya awkwardly admits that he doesn't have any because he doesn't own a smartphone. His friends think it's a bit strange, but Yuuya explains that he's never really needed one. They tell him about a nearby pet shop, and although they can't go with him after school, Keed offers to help him out. Yuuya appreciates the offer, and Keed starts to think it might be like a date but quickly brushes off the idea, telling Yuuya not to worry about it. When Yuuya gets home, Night runs to greet him, and Yuuya shows him the new items Keed helped him pick out, including a new collar. Yuuya decides they should go for a walk, so they head to the park. As they walk, people stare at them, thinking Yuuya looks cool and that Night is adorable. At the park, Yuuya runs into Kaori and introduces her to Night. Kaori starts petting Night and finds him incredibly cute, while others around them think they look like a great couple. Kaori asks about Night's breed, but Yuuya pretends not to know since he can't exactly say Night is a Fenrir. Kaori notices how smart Night is and is happy that Yuuya decided to adopt him. Just then, a girl calls out to Yuuya. It's Miu, the model he worked with before. She also lives nearby and often comes to the park for walks. Yuuya introduces Miu and Kaori to each other, and people around them are amazed to see Yuuya with another beautiful girl. As more people start recognizing Miu, they draw a lot of attention, so Miu decides to leave to avoid causing a scene. Before she leaves, she mentions that she hopes to see Yuuya again. After Miu leaves, Kaori asks if Miu is Yuuya's girlfriend, but Yuuya quickly denies it, explaining that he's only met Miu once before and that she's way out of his league. Kaori disagrees and tells him he shouldn't sell himself short. Suddenly, a woman screams as a man snatches her purse and runs off. Kaori asks Yuuya what they should do, and Yuuya tells Night to chase the thief. While they check on the woman, Night returns, dragging the thief back. Yuuya tells Kaori to call the police, but the thief breaks free and tries to attack Kaori. Yuuya steps in, quickly disarming the man and holding him down. The crowd around them cheers, thinking Yuuya is incredibly cool, and Kaori thanks him again for saving her. After the police take the thief away, Yuuya heads home, feeling good about how things turned out. As Yuuya and Night explore deeper into the dark forest, they face off against countless tough monsters. At one point, they run into another Orc King. This time, Night steps up, showing off his strength by taking down the Orc King all by himself, biting into its neck and finishing it quickly. As they continue their journey, they come across a crystal deer, which is a level 630 monster with really high magic power. Yuuya decides to stay hidden using his invisibility skill and observes the deer, but somehow the deer senses him anyway. With no time to plan, the deer charges at them, forcing Yuuya and Night to split up. Night tries to attack, but the deer fights back using its magic, causing explosions around it. The deer then fires a powerful blast of water at Yuuya, but he barely manages to dodge it. Realizing they need to work together, Yuuya tells Night to create a distraction. Night uses his speed to zip around the deer, dodging its magic attacks, and finally lands a hit. Yuuya sees his chance and finishes off the deer. When they check the loot, Yuuya finds a strange box. Inside, he discovers a portable bath set that automatically stays clean and has a feature that keeps anyone from spying on him. Amazed by how cool the item is, Yuuya decides to head back home to try it out, enjoying a nice, relaxing bath with Night. The next day, Yuuya and Night encounter a needle roller, a monster that's incredibly fast. At first, Yuuya struggles to keep up with it, but after watching its movements, he predicts where it will go and dodges its attack, causing the monster to get stuck in a wall. Yuuya quickly takes it down and finally levels up to 240, while Night reaches level 510. The impact of the needle roller crashing into the wall causes it to crack, revealing a hidden cave. Curious, Yuuya and Night decide to explore it. As they go deeper into the cave, the place suddenly lights up, and they enter a large chamber. To Yuuya's shock, they find a body inside, but Night notices a book on the ground. Yuuya picks it up and realizes it's the Book of the Sage. As Yuuya reads the book, he learns that the sage was a master of all skills, so powerful that even the gods wanted him to join them. But he turned them down. As he continues reading, the book begins to speak, warning Yuuya that as he gets stronger, people might start to fear him. Worried about this, Yuuya hears the sage's voice advising him to find people he can trust. The sage then asks if Yuuya wants to learn anything, and Yuuya eagerly asks to learn magic. The sage fills the book with all his knowledge of magic but explains that Yuuya can't use magic yet. because he doesn't have the magical circuits in his body since he's from another world. However, the sage offers to pass on his own magical circuits to Yuuya, telling him to live a happy and fulfilling life. Back at home, Yuuya starts practicing magic using the sage's book. He begins by learning how to sense the magical energy around him, which helps him pick up a new skill, magic energy manipulation. The book instructs him to gather the energy in his hand and imagine the spell he wants to cast. Excited to try it out, Yuuya goes outside and imagines creating a ball of water. Knight seems to be learning too. Yuuya fires the water ball at a tree, and to his surprise, the magic is super strong, blasting right through the tree. Meanwhile, back in the royal capital, Owen reports to the king about Yuuya. He explains all the amazing things Yuuya has done. But when he mentions that Princess Lexia asked Yuuya to marry her, the king freaks out, thinking Yuuya must have somehow charmed his daughter. At school, Yuuya can't stop thinking about the sage's book. The book warned him about using magic, saying that the techniques he's learning are rare even in the other world. His thoughts are interrupted when the teacher announces that the class will be going on a camping trip next week. The students are divided into groups of 4, and Yuuya ends up in a group with Keed, Akira, and a girl named Rin. Keed is pumped about the trip, but Yuuya admits he doesn't have any camping gear. Keed suggests they go shopping together. They head to the mall, and Shingo is surprised when Kaori joins them. Ryo is also shocked that Yuuya is friends with Kaori since most people are intimidated by her because she's the director's daughter. But Kaori tells them to just treat her like any other student. Yuuya wonders where Akira is, and Shingo explains that Akira couldn't make it today. Once they're inside the mall, the group helps Yuuya pick out a backpack. Afterward, they decide to hit the arcade. Shingo gets excited when he sees his favorite character in a crane game, but he admits he's terrible at it. Yuuya gives it a shot, using his detect weakness skill to find the best spot, and wins the figure on his first try. Keed asks if he can win her a stuffed cat, and with his skill, Yuuya easily grabs it for her. He ends up winning prizes for everyone, and Kaori, who's never been to an arcade before, thanks him for her gift. The girls decide to go shopping for clothes, so the guys take a break and head to a cafe. As they relax, Yuuya reflects on how much fun he's having hanging out with friends for the first time. Suddenly, an alarm goes off, and they're told there's a fire in the building, and everyone needs to evacuate. Yuuya immediately worries about the girls, thinking the fire might be near where they are. As they reach the staircase, Yuuya asks a man if he's seen his friends. Just then, Ryo gets a call from Keed, who says they're stuck upstairs. Without hesitating, Yuuya rushes up the stairs, determined to save his friends. He reaches the floor where the fire is raging, but the sprinklers aren't enough to put it out. Realizing he has no other choice, Yuuya decides to use his magic. He covers himself in a layer of water, allowing him to run through the flames unharmed. He finds the girls unconscious from the smoke and quickly checks the building with his detection skill, confirming they're the only ones left inside. He uses his magic to shield the girls, but as the fire gets worse, he starts to worry they might not make it out in time. Outside, Ryo and Shingo watch helplessly as firefighters try to control the blaze. They tell the firefighters that their friends are still inside, but the firefighters say they can't do anything until the fire is under control. Inside, Yuuya searches frantically for an exit, but the roof collapses, blocking their path. As he dodges falling debris, Kaori drops the gift Yuuya gave her. Trapped with no way out, Yuuya makes a bold move. He uses his magic to blast through the building, creating an escape route. The entire building shakes, but Yuuya manages to get out with the girls just in time. The girls are quickly treated by paramedics, and the firefighters scold Yuuya for risking his life. Kaori's father arrives, thanking Yuuya for saving his daughter again. Yuuya hands back the honor pin Kaori dropped, and she hugs her father, making Yuuya think about what a real family should be like. Although he feels a bit lonely, thinking he doesn't have anyone like that, he realizes that Knight is his family now. Later, back at home, Yuuya thinks about what else he can do with magic. He remembers that magic is just the power of imagination, so he decides to experiment with using it for travel. Focusing on a specific location, he successfully opens a portal that takes him deep into the dark forest. Excited that it worked, Yuuya notices he can only teleport to places he's already visited. Still, he's happy that this new skill will let him get home quickly to feed Knight, even when he's away on the school trip. Taking advantage of the portal, Yuuya and Knight decide to do some more exploring. They find a cave filled with goblins, but with Yuuya's legendary sword, the goblins don't stand a chance. Inside the cave, they discover a bunch of rare items, which Yuuya stores using his storage skill. He feels that he and Knight are becoming a better team with each adventure. As they leave the cave, Yuuya suggests they call it a day, but Knight seems eager to keep going. Yuuya explains that he needs to prepare for the school trip, but Knight suddenly takes off, sensing something ahead. Yuuya follows, using his invisibility skill to stay hidden. They find a girl who is injured and surrounded by goblins. Yuuya wants to help, but Knight holds him back. The elite goblin attacks, smashing a tree, but some mysterious threads block its path, and the girl fights back, cutting off the goblin's arm. Yuuya is curious about the threads but is interrupted when more goblins attack the girl. She defends herself with the threads, but the elite goblin manages to hit her, knocking her out. As the goblin moves in for the kill, Yuuya and Knight jump into action, taking down the goblins together. However, more goblins appear, so Yuuya decides to use his Divine Whip, a powerful weapon that binds and crushes all the goblins in one move. Yuuya can't help but think how overpowered the whip is, able to hit multiple enemies at once and never miss. After the battle, Yuuya wasn't sure what to do with the girl he had just saved. He thought about bringing her back to his place, but Knight seemed against the idea. Yuuya didn't want to leave her alone, but before he could decide, the girl suddenly woke up, startled to find herself being carried. In her surprise, she ended up falling to the ground. Yuuya quickly offered her a protein shake, which healed all her injuries right away. The girl was amazed and asked who he was, so Yuuya introduced himself and Knight. However, Knight didn't seem to trust her, which made Yuuya wonder why. The girl introduced herself as Luna and explained that she was training in the forest when she got caught off guard by the elite goblin. She asked what happened to the goblins, and Yuuya casually told her he took care of them. Luna was surprised, especially since Yuuya had carried her to safety. She apologized for being dirty and sweaty, but Yuuya said it was no big deal. Luna asked if there was a river nearby where she could clean up, but instead, Yuuya pulled out his portable bath. He waited outside while Luna bathed, and she couldn't believe he had such a rare item. Yuuya mentioned that he got the bath from a crystal deer, which impressed Luna. She then told him she was in the dark forest on a mission for a client, though Yuuya didn't catch that part. Luna asked if Yuuya would join her in training since they were both there for similar reasons. Yuuya felt bad letting her train alone, so he agreed to help. Over the next few days, they trained together. Yuuya helped Luna with her practice, and she taught him some new skills too. Both of them grew stronger, and at one point, Luna managed to take down an elite goblin with her thread skills, which really impressed Yuuya. She thanked him but said she still had a lot to learn because she needed to get stronger to complete her mission. Eventually, Yuuya told Luna he had to leave because of an upcoming school trip, though Luna didn't quite understand what that meant. On their last day of training, Yuuya decided to relax in his bath, but Luna surprised him by joining in, saying she wanted to share the moment. Yuuya got really embarrassed, but Luna hugged him, telling him how much she appreciated their time together. She offered to wash his back, but when her towel accidentally fell, Yuuya got even more flustered. The next day, Yuuya went on his school trip. While on the bus, he played cards with his friends, but Keed noticed he looked tired. Yuuya admitted he didn't get much sleep the night before. Despite being exhausted, Yuuya kept winning the card games, surprising his friends. They couldn't believe he won 5 times in a row, but Yuuya figured it was just luck. He took a nap, thinking that maybe his luck stat had something to do with both the card games and the weird situation with Luna. Yuuya woke up when they arrived at their destination. The students changed into their camping gear, and their teacher explained that they'd be camping for 2 days and had to live off the land. The teacher mentioned there were fish in the river and some plants they could eat, but some students were worried that the plants might be poisonous. The teacher reassured them that the school doctor was on standby, though the students found the doctor a bit strange since they often heard odd noises coming from her office. Akira joked that they could just skip eating for a day, but the teacher insisted that surviving in the wild was part of the lesson. She also mentioned it was a competition between classes and that the results would affect her bonus, so she encouraged them to do their best. The students weren't too excited about her reason for pushing them so hard. The students are dropped off in the forest, and Yuuya wonders what their first move should be. Akira confidently says surviving will be easy, but the others don't take him seriously and ignore him. Rin suggests that Yuuya and Keed try fishing while she and Akira search for edible plants. When they reach the river, they see most of the other students already fishing. Keed realizes they might have missed the best spots. Ryo, who's already by the water, tells them all the good spots are taken. Keed thinks they should try something else, but Yuuya uses his detection skill and finds a spot with plenty of fish. Keed is worried that the water is too shallow for their fishing poles to work, but Yuuya has a different idea. He wades into the water himself. Yuuya compares the fish to the monsters he's faced in the dark forest, thinking they're much slower. Remembering the tips Luna gave him about predicting movements, he manages to catch a fish with his bare hands. Keed is impressed, and Yuuya keeps catching more fish with ease. Other students look at him like he's crazy, and Keed tells him he might be overdoing it. Yuuya admits he got a bit carried away and silently thanks Luna for her advice. Meanwhile, in a hidden part of town, Luna is in a dark, eerie shop filled with creepy puppets. She uses her thread skills to slice off all their heads and realizes that her power has grown. Luna thinks back on her time with Yuuya, but it's revealed that she's actually an assassin who has been killing since she was a kid. She wishes she had met Yuuya earlier, thinking her life might have turned out differently. However, Luna knows she has to move on because she's known as the headhunter, and she prepares for her next mission. Back at the camp, Yuuya and Keed meet up with Rin, proudly showing off their pile of fish. Rin is shocked to hear that Yuuya caught them all with just his hands. Yuuya then asks about Akira, who is lying on the ground, looking exhausted. Akira complains that Rin used him to test if mushrooms were poisonous and even as bait to scare off bears. Worried, Yuuya checks Akira's stats to see if he's okay and is relieved to find he's fine. Rin and Akira show off the plants they gathered, and Yuuya uses his skill to remove the poisonous mushrooms, praising their efforts. They head to the building where their teacher, Sawada, is inspecting everyone's food to make sure it's safe. Yuuya runs into Kaori, who asks how his team is doing. They chat about the experience so far until Kaori is called back by her team. Akira is surprised by how close Yuuya is with Kaori and wishes he could be more like him. When Yuuya's team presents their food to Sawada, she's impressed that they're the first group to bring back so much safe to eat food. She gets excited thinking about her bonus, but then reminds them that they'll also be judged on their cooking. She asks who's going to cook, and everyone points at Yuuya. Sawada encourages him to do his best, hinting that her bonus depends on it. But Yuuya thinks she's being a bit too obvious about her motivations. Yuuya starts cooking, using the skills he picked up from living alone and preparing meals in the other world. The food turns out great, and the team eagerly digs in. Yuuya anxiously waits for their reactions. Sawada, who has been drinking a little, tries some of the food. Yuuya is nervous, but everyone ends up loving it. Sawada is amazed, saying that even though the school's meals are made by top chefs, Yuuya's cooking is somehow even better. She's shocked at how good it is and wonders how he learned to cook so well. Yuuya reflects on how he only ever cooked for himself since he was alone, but he's happy to see others enjoying his food. After the meal, Sawada jokingly asks Yuuya to marry her, surprising everyone. She admits she can't cook or clean because she was always focused on her research and has never been in a relationship. After tasting Yuuya's cooking, she declares that he's a perfect catch and asks him to marry her and take care of her. Everyone else quickly tells her it's a bad idea, and Keed even says Yuuya isn't suitable for marriage, which makes Yuuya think he's not good enough. But Sawada insists she's serious and says she'll wait for him. Yuuya, flustered, tries to politely decline, saying it's not appropriate since she's his teacher. However, he tells her that he thinks she's a great teacher. Sawada is thrilled to hear this and pulls him into a tight hug, embarrassing Yuuya further. Keed tries to pull him away, and Akira, watching the whole thing, can't help but think Yuuya is incredibly lucky. Later that night, Yuuya decides to teleport back home to check on Knight. Once there, he quickly fixes Knight some food from his storage, watching as the dog eagerly devours it. As he watches, Yuuya thinks about how much he enjoys making others happy with his cooking. After a while, he teleports back to the camp, where everyone is taking a shower. When he reappears, all eyes are on him, leaving Yuuya puzzled until Akira points out just how fit and muscular he is. Yuuya doesn't get why they're all staring, not realizing how much his appearance stands out. Meanwhile, in the girls' shower area, Rin is playfully teasing Keed, suggesting that all the boys must be crushing on her. They bump into Kaori, and the conversation shifts to how Sawada had jokingly proposed to Yuuya. Kaori is surprised by this news, and the girls speculate that Sawada might have an edge. Keed seems motivated to make her move on Yuuya too. Kaori asks if Keed has feelings for Yuuya, but Keed quickly denies it. However, Rin isn't convinced, thinking Keed's feelings are obvious. Kaori begins to wonder what kind of girl Yuuya might like. The next morning, some students discover their belongings have been messed with, and they suspect a thief might be around. Akira looks especially concerned, while Yuuya checks to make sure their stuff is still safe. The group decides to go look for breakfast, but Akira gets freaked out when he spots claw marks on a tree. Remembering that Akira had been used as bait for bears earlier, Yuuya quickly pieces together what's happening. As they search for food, a bear suddenly shows up, heading straight for the girls, who scream and take off running. Chaos erupts as the bear chases after the girls, causing panic among the students. Sawada signals everyone to take cover, but the bear barrels right towards them. As they run, Sawada trips and falls, and the bear charges at her. Without hesitation, Yuuya jumps in, wrestling the bear to the ground and knocking it out cold. He checks on Sawada, who, instead of scolding him for fighting a bear, thanks him for saving her life. She even jokingly proposes to him again, but Yuuya politely declines. Yuuya then wonders what will happen to the bear, and Kiori explains that they'll try to tame it and use it as a guard bear. If it becomes aggressive again, they'll just eat it. The bear seems to understand, so the problem is resolved, and the camping trip comes to an end. Back at his house, Yuuya gets ready to meet the king in the other world. On his way, he encounters a group of demons in the forest. Worried that Lexia's group might run into them, Yuuya decides to take care of the demons himself. Night attacks one of the demons, and Yuuya throws his spear, but the demon catches it. Not deterred, Yuuya switches to a powerful hammer, crushing the demon and clearing the area, impressed once again by the sage's weapons. One of the demons drops a strange helmet, and Yuuya decides to try it on. However, a mysterious rabbit-like creature watches him from afar, thinking Yuuya might be the one it's been searching for. Just then, Lexia's group arrives, and Owen looks worried when he sees Yuuya wearing the helmet. Yuuya quickly removes it, and they are relieved to see him. They ask if he's ready to meet the king and invite him to join them on the journey to the palace. As they prepare to leave, Night suddenly jumps on Lexia, and a tree crashes down. Yuuya quickly slashes the tree in half and notices the threads Luna uses. Realizing that Night was protecting Lexia, Owen is confused, and Yuuya figures out that Luna must be nearby. As Luna tries to escape, Yuuya catches up to her and knocks her out. He's shocked to see that it's really Luna, and Lexia joins him, curious about who she is. Yuuya explains that Luna is the one who tried to attack Lexia, and realizes that Night sensed this all along. Yuuya asks if he can heal Luna's wounds and take her back to his house to find out what's going on, not wanting to believe she's truly bad. Lexia agrees, and just then, Alan rushes over, scolding Lexia for running off on her own. However, Lexia insists on visiting Yuuya's house to learn more about the situation and Yuuya's connection with Luna. Yuuya decides to teleport them back to his house to save time, leaving Owen behind. Lexia is surprised by the teleportation, and while they wait for Luna to wake up, Yuuya explains how he met her in the forest and how they trained together. However, Lexia is more interested in the teleportation magic Yuuya used. Yuuya admits that he just thought about using Magixia, then asks Luna to explain her story. Feeling hopeless, Luna tells them to just get it over with, but Yuuya gently asks her to share what happened instead. Luna starts by explaining that she grew up as an orphan, surviving by scavenging for food. Eventually, a man took her in and taught her how to read, write, and become an assassin. She later joined the Dark Guild, which Lexia explains is a group involved in all sorts of criminal activities. Luna admits that she became notorious as the headhunter because she completed so many deadly missions. Lexia is shocked. Luna then reveals that her mission was to assassinate Lexia, but since she failed, she's certain that her life is now in danger. She volunteers to help, but she's not very good at it, and Luna gives Lexia a smug look. Not wanting to be outdone, Lexia demands to be fed too, using her status as a princess to make Yuuya comply, even though she's not injured. Later that night, the girls sleep while Yuuya, tired from the day, reflects on how crazy everything has been but feels content with the night, and Owen thanks him for saving Lexia. But Owen's curious. Owen agrees but insists they'll keep a close watch on her. Suddenly, Yuuya remembers he can't go to the palace with them because he's been away from school for too long. Owen suggests that Yuuya visit the palace whenever he gets the chance and gives him directions to a nearby village to find his way to the capital. As they part ways, Lexia asks Yuuya to visit soon. But before he leaves, Luna runs up to him, gives him a quick kiss, and thanks him for everything he's done for her. Lexia is stunned and demands to return to Ving. Yuuya is left thinking about the kiss and wondering if Luna has feelings for him. To clear his mind, he decides to take a bath, but Yuuya decides to check out its ball game competition, and she encourages everyone to give it their all since it will affect her bonus. The first event is soccer, and the class is divided into two teams. Since Yuuya isn't familiar with soccer, he's put in as the goalkeeper. When the game begins, Ryo dominates the field, easily taking on the opposing team and scoring a goal. Pete is impressed by allowing Akira to steal the ball from Ryo. Feeling after school, a modeling agency approaches Yuuya, inviting him to join the industry. Yuuya politely declines, explaining that he's happy with his life at school. New, the model he had previously worked with, appears and tries to persuade him to reconsider. Yuuya's friends are surprised to see him with such a famous person, and Yuuya explains that they just happened to work together. He chases after it, The modeling agency's manager gets an idea to do a feature on the school, and Photocesarea pushes limits. He ventures deeper into the forest and discovers an area filled with nearly indestructible black trees. As he wonders how Akatsuki got so big, a massive boar suddenly attacks him. Yuuya tries to heal himself, but the boar charges at him again, leaving him in a tight spot. Just when things look grim, the boar is sent flying by a mysterious rabbit who introduces himself as Usagi. Yuuya is stunned to find out that Usagi can talk. The boar gets back up, but Usagi quickly defeats it, destroying several trees in the process of titles. Grateful for the help, Yuuya asks Usagi to show him his kick. Usagi is Divine Kicker. He tells Yuuya that divines are responsible for protecting the world from creatures called Vile, which are manifestations of the world's negative forces. Although Yuuya is hesitant about becoming a divine, Usagi tells him that the fight against the Vile is unavoidable, and they need as many allies as they can get. Yuuya, who wants to protect Knight and Akatsuki, agrees to continue training. Usagi, impressed by the barrier around Yuuya's house, asks Yuuya to teach him some magic in return. They agree to exchange knowledge and continue their training together. The next day, Yuuya is running through the forest, being chased by a giant king methyl boar. Usagi, the talking rabbit, tells him this is a great chance to practice. Yuuya struggles at first, but with some strong kicks and using his whip, he finally takes the boar down. Feeling proud, Yuuya checks the items the boar dropped, which are all SS ranked. Usagi then explains that there are even stronger monsters out there, with ranks like SS and X, and that the most powerful creatures, the Vile, are at the legendary level. Suddenly, Yuuya gets a notification that he's evolving. His body glows, and while he doesn't look much different, he gains several new abilities. The next day at school, Yuuya takes part in a table tennis match. The head of the modeling agency that's been following him tells him to put on a good show. Yuuya's opponent is the national champion, nicknamed the Sniper because of his precise serves. The champion serves with a speed and power that Yuuya barely misses, but after thinking about how he handled the boar, Yuuya easily returns the next serve, breaking the table in the process. Realizing his strength might be too much, Yuuya decides to forfeit the match to avoid hurting anyone, which frustrates the photographers who complain they couldn't capture his moves. After the table tennis match, Keed pulls Yuuya over to join the volleyball game because one of their players got hurt. The modeling agency head follows, eager to get more photos. The game starts, and Yuuya's serve is so powerful it pops the ball and wrecks the net. The other team instantly gives up, and once again, the photographers miss the shot because they were distracted. After the game, Keed tells Yuuya not to worry, saying that a win is still a win. Suddenly, they hear a scream. It turns out Kaori's tennis partner got hurt, so Yuuya steps in to play with her. As Kaori serves, her racket flies out of her hand, almost hitting Yuuya. He realizes her partner got hurt because of her wild serves. Yuuya decides to take control of the game, handling all the shots and carrying their team to victory. Kaori tries to help but ends up throwing her racket again and nearly falling. Yuuya catches her just in time, and this time, the photographers finally get a great shot of the moment. At the end of the day, Kaori walks home with Yuuya, thanking him for his help. She offers to treat him to some food, but Yuuya says he's just happy to be with her, so there's no need for a reward. In response, Kaori gives him a quick kiss on the cheek, leaving Yuuya surprised and blushing. Meanwhile, back in the other world, Usagi is fighting one of the Vile. The creature is shocked to see Usagi using magic, something unusual for his kind. Usagi thanks Yuuya for teaching him magic, but the Vile decides that Yuuya might be a bigger threat and leaves to find him instead. Back in the real world, the modeling agency head is reviewing the photos of Yuuya and is thrilled with how they turned out. She's confident the magazine will sell like crazy, but is worried that other agencies might try to recruit Yuuya once they see his photos. However, she has a plan to make sure Yuuya stays with them. Later, at Yuuya's house, he and Kaori are studying together. Yuuya thanks Kaori for helping him with his math homework, and she replies that it's no problem since he's been helping her with English. Yuuya thinks to himself that it's thanks to his language skill that English has become so easy for him. In a flashback, we see Yuuya and Kaori walking home, talking about their upcoming exams. Yuuya admits he's nervous about how he'll do, which surprises Kaori, who thought there was nothing Yuuya couldn't handle. That's when she suggested they study together. When Kaori meets Akatsuki for the first time, she thinks both of Yuuya's pets are adorable. Later, while studying, Kaori asks to use the bathroom, but as she leaves, Yuuya worries she might get lost in the house. Instead, Kaori ends up in front of the mysterious door to the other world. Yuuya quickly follows her, and Kaori tells him she felt drawn to the door. Nervously, Yuuya explains that the door leads to another world and asks her to try putting her hand through it. When she does, her hand is stopped by a barrier. Yuuya explains that only people he allows can pass through. Curious, Kaori asks about the other world, so Yuuya explains that it's a place filled with monsters and magic. He even shows off some of his magic abilities, which amazes Kaori. Yuuya tells her that everything he learned from the other world helped him handle the bullies at school and save people during the fire at the store. Kaori finds it hard to believe but is excited when Yuuya offers to show her around the other world. Holding her hand, Yuuya leads her through the door, and Kaori is amazed to find herself in a completely different place. Yuuya explains that both Knight and Akatsuki are from this world. He tells her that Knight is a Fenrir, like a big wolf, and Akatsuki is a kind of magical creature, though Akatsuki gets annoyed when Yuuya compares him to a pig. Kaori's status screen suddenly appears, and Yuuya explains that in this world, everyone's abilities are shown as stats. He's surprised to see that Kaori's starting stats are much higher than his were when he first arrived. He remembers how all his stats were at the lowest level when he started, and he admits to Kaori that his transformation and new abilities make him feel like he cheated. He worries that people only like him now because of how he looks and what he can do. Kaori changes the subject, asking to see more of the world. Yuuya tells her that it's dangerous outside the barrier around his house but promises to show her more another time. She makes him pinky promise, and Yuuya asks her to keep everything a secret, making her feel like they share something special. Kaori feels even closer to Yuuya after that. When Lexia gets back to the palace, the king notices Yuuya isn't with her and asks why. Owen explains that their plans changed, and the king immediately suspects it has something to do with Luna. Luna doesn't hesitate and admits that she tried to assassinate Lexia. Furious, the king grabs his sword and charges at Luna to kill her, but he stops when he realizes she had the skill to block his attack by holding his arm, showing she knew how to counter his special sword. Lexia steps in, angry with her father, and tells him it was her choice to make Luna her guard. She even says she'll hate him if he hurts her. Shocked by his daughter's words, the king reluctantly agrees to let Luna be part of Lexia's guards. Once things calm down, the king asks Owen to tell him more about Luna. Owen explains that Luna was a top assassin, known as the Headhunter, working for a dark guild. The king starts worrying about how Yuuya fits into all this. Owen then tells the king how Yuuya captured Luna and took both her and Lexia to his house. Hearing that Lexia spent the night at a man's house, the king goes berserk, imagining the worst. Owen tries to assure him that nothing happened, but the king isn't convinced. Meanwhile, in a hidden room, the masked man who tried to kill Lexia is revealed to be Riger, the king's oldest son. His servant reports that a noble hired Luna to assassinate Lexia, but she failed because Yuuya got involved and even ended up as Lexia's guard. The servant also mentions that Yuuya has been invited to the palace, giving Riger an idea. He hands over a magical device that cancels out all magic within its range, planning to use it to weaken the king's guards. If the plan fails, they can blame Yuuya when he shows up at the palace. Back in the forest, Yuuya gets an extra day off after the academy's competition, so he decides to visit the capital. On his way, he fights a sheep monster that drops some rare items, including a magical bedding set that promises the best sleep ever. When Yuuya reaches a nearby town, he's surprised to see that this world has cat people. He heads to the guild to trade some items since he doesn't have any money in this world. The guild master finds Yuuya's name unusual and asks where he's from. Yuuya says he's from a small island, and the master assumes he must be a noble because of his appearance. But Yuuya insists he's just a regular guy. The guild master is amazed when Yuuya pulls out a bunch of peppers using his item box skill. The master examines them and says they're the highest quality he's ever seen, even though Yuuya thought they were just normal peppers. The master offers to buy them for 100 gold coins, which confuses Yuuya since he doesn't know how much the money is worth. The master explains that an average family can live comfortably on just 5 gold coins a year, so 100 gold is a lot of money. The master also gives Yuuya a guild card for identification and tells him how to get to the capital. When Yuuya arrives at the capital, he's amazed by how crowded it is. Akatsuki points out the palace, and Yuuya starts feeling nervous, worried that he might not fit in. He heads to the palace and is welcomed by Owen, who tells him they're going to meet the king right away. Yuuya panics, feeling unprepared, but Owen reassures him that it's just a casual meeting. Inside the throne room, Lexia and Luna are waiting. Yuuya bows before the king, who immediately brings up Lexia's proposal and starts getting angry, thinking Yuuya must have tricked his daughter. Owen tries to calm him down, but the king is still upset because Yuuya didn't bring any gifts for Lexia. Panicking, Yuuya quickly offers the bedding set he got from the sheep monster. Lexia is pleased with the gift, but the king is furious, thinking Yuuya is trying to woo his daughter right in front of him. Owen explains that Yuuya doesn't know their customs, but Yuuya is confused. Lexia then tells him that giving bedding as a gift means you want to marry the person and share a bed with them. Realizing he made a huge mistake, Yuuya tries to apologize, but the king is ready to attack him. Just then, a group of assassins bursts into the room. The king orders his guards to fight back, but one of the assassins activates a magic barrier, stopping all magic in the room. The assassins rush in, but Yuuya, with Knight by his side, quickly defeats them. Lexia clings to Yuuya, praising him for saving them, while Luna, feeling jealous, tries to pull her away. The king, however, just glares at Yuuya, still not entirely happy with what's happened. After the fight, Owen finds a strange emblem on one of the fallen attackers and realizes that Prince Riger, the king's oldest son, is behind the attack. The news spreads quickly, and the king locks himself in his room, worried about what happened. Yuuya doesn't know what to do next, but Owen asks him to help keep Lexia safe. Yuuya decides to find Lexia, feeling a bit nervous about it. Just as he's about to knock on her door, Lexia steps out, surprising him. Lexia suggests that since it's Yuuya's first time in the capital, they should go explore the city. Luna, always careful, reminds her that it might be dangerous, but Lexia argues that if her brother sends more attackers, it would reveal where he's hiding. Luna agrees but knows Lexia just wants to get outside. Luna offers to show Yuuya around herself, but Lexia refuses, not wanting to leave Yuuya alone with Luna. Owen tries to step in, offering to guide Yuuya while the girls stay safe in the castle, but both Lexia and Luna reject his idea. In the end, both girls insist on going with Yuuya, with Owen following from a distance. Lexia wants to take Yuuya to see some jewelry, but Luna has other ideas, leading to a playful argument between them. Their bickering catches the attention of people in the streets, who start to wonder if Yuuya is a noble because he's with two beautiful girls. As they walk around, Yuuya gets interested in the Adventurers Guild. He mentions that he joined the Merchants Guild on his way to the capital, and Luna suggests he should also join the Adventurers Guild. She points out that since Yuuya likes hunting, joining the guild would make it easier for him to trade monster parts and earn money. Luna decides to sign up too, hoping to go on quests with Yuuya. Lexia doesn't like the idea, but Luna suggests that Lexia could join as well. Lexia complains, but Luna tells her not to worry because Yuuya will probably be too busy to take quests with her anyway. At the Adventurers Guild, they meet a clerk named Emilia, who gives them forms to fill out. While filling out his form, Yuuya comes across a question about what types of magic he can use. Remembering that magic knowledge in this world isn't very advanced, Yuuya decides not to mention all his abilities, like teleportation. Instead, he writes down wind, fire, and water magic. The next step is to measure their magic power with a crystal ball. Yuuya wonders why they don't just check the status window, but Emilia explains that most adventurers keep their stats private, so the crystal ball helps verify their power. Luna goes first, and the ball glows yellow, showing her magic power. She admits she's not great with magic. When it's Yuuya's turn, the crystal ball shatters from his overwhelming energy. Emilia thinks it might be a mistake and tries again, but the ball breaks again. Yuuya apologizes and asks if he needs to pay for it, but Emilia says it's fine. When she looks over their forms, she's shocked to see that Yuuya can use 3 types of magic, which is something rare and usually only heard of in fairy tales. Lexia is impressed, and Yuuya is just glad he didn't list all his magic abilities. After processing their forms, Emilia gives them their new guild cards and explains that they will start at F rank. Yuuya asks if they need to complete quests quickly, but Emilia says they can go at their own pace. She warns them to be careful when gathering items, so they don't harm the environment by overpicking plants. As they look at the quest board, trying to decide what to do first, a woman named Grina approaches Yuuya. She saw him break the crystal ball and wants to team up with him, but both Lexia and Luna quickly pull her away, saying she's had too much to drink. As Grina walks off, she says she hopes to see Yuuya again. Lexia starts rethinking her decision to join the guild, thinking she needs to protect Yuuya from other women like Grina. But Luna reminds her that Owen already has a hard time keeping her out of trouble. Yuuya and his friends head out for their first mission, collecting herbs. Yuuya is surprised that his skill not only identifies the plants but also gives him instructions on how to pick them correctly. Luna struggles a bit with not damaging the roots, while Lexia is just happy to get away from the palace. Lexia challenges Luna to see who can collect the most valuable herbs, with the winner getting to spend a whole day with Yuuya. Owen reminds them not to pick too many herbs, so they all spread out to start gathering. While Yuuya is collecting herbs, he finds a plant that can restore mana, and Akatsuki tries to help but only finds a poisonous one instead. When the girls return, Yuuya starts looking over what they gathered, but suddenly Owen rushes over. He says they've found out where the first prince, Riger, is hiding, and he asks Yuuya to come along and help. Lexia and Luna head back to the castle while Yuuya and Owen go to the location. They arrive at an old, rundown house and everything seems quiet. Owen thinks maybe the prince has already been captured by the soldiers who got there earlier, but as they go inside, one of the soldiers is hit by a knife. They find the prince holding a guard hostage, but Yuuya sends Knight, who quickly saves the guard. Owen's men surround the prince, telling him to give up, but Riger refuses and starts swinging his sword wildly. In desperation, Riger threatens to end his life, saying he's worthless. Owen isn't sure what to do, but Yuuya steps in and stops him. Riger tries to attack Yuuya, but Yuuya quickly knocks him down. Just as they're about to take Riger away, there's a huge explosion, and the house is blown apart. Riger is relieved when he sees a mysterious girl, but she looks around and realizes that Riger has failed. She coldly tells him that he's no longer useful. Riger, shocked, realizes that she never intended to help him become king. Instead, she wanted to use him to start wars and cause chaos. Heartbroken, Riger realizes he's been tricked. The girl prepares to kill him, but Owen tries to stop her and gets hit by an arrow. Yuuya looks around, trying to figure out where the arrow came from, but the girl starts shooting more arrows, making it hard for anyone to move. She seems to know exactly what they're going to do next and is about to finish them off when Yuuya uses his magic to blow the arrows away. Owen thanks Yuuya for saving them, and the girl realizes that Yuuya is the one she's been looking for. She wants to fight him but decides to leave, saying she's too tired to fight right now. Riger is taken back to the palace and brought before the king. The guards remove Riger's mask and cloak, revealing that his body is covered in scars. Lexia finds it hard to look at him, and it's revealed that she accidentally caused these injuries when she lost control of her magic. After that, Riger went mad and started hurting himself to cope with the pain. He blames the king for not helping him and for keeping him hidden away, treating him like he didn't exist. Riger, now healed but still facing punishment, begs for his suffering to end and asks to be killed. Yuuya interrupts, saying he might be able to help, and takes out a healing potion. Riger tries to resist, but the potion heals all his scars completely. Everyone is shocked as Riger looks in the mirror, amazed that he's healed. Yuuya explains that the potion is made from a very special herb that he grows in his garden. Riger starts laughing, thinking that even though he's healed, he still has to face his punishment. Lexia asks what crimes he committed, and the king says that Riger tried to kill him. Lexia decides to forgive Riger, saying that since the crime was against her, she can pardon him. The king agrees, and Riger avoids his punishment. Afterward, the king wants to reward Yuuya. Lexia suggests marrying him, and Luna also offers to marry him. Instead, the king gives Yuuya the title of Lord Knight and grants him some land and a mansion. Yuuya goes to bed and quickly falls asleep, but he has a bad dream where he fights the mysterious girl and loses. The next day at school, he feels uneasy and distracted. His friends invite him to hang out after class, but he says no and hurries home, still thinking about the girl. Determined to be ready if they meet again, he heads back to the other world and starts training hard. While he's training, Knight suddenly senses something, and they get attacked. The mysterious girl appears, and Yuuya is confused about why she's after him. She explains that she wants revenge and sees him as someone who could mess up her plans. At the same time, Kaori decides to visit Yuuya's house to study. She finds the door open and, not finding him inside, steps through the door into the other world, looking around for Yuuya. Suddenly, she hears explosions nearby. The girl starts shooting arrows at Yuuya, but he charges at her with Knight by his side, managing to land a hit. The girl is surprised by how strong Yuuya is and decides she needs to take him down before he gets even stronger. She fires more arrows, and Yuuya sees Kaori nearby. Worried, he tries to protect her, which leads to a big explosion. The girl gets ready to finish him off with her strongest attack, but Usagi shows up just in time to block it. Usagi apologizes for being late, saying he was gathering information. He tells Yuuya that the girl's name is Yuri, and she's the student of a powerful archer. Yuri admits that her master was killed, and now she wants revenge. She says Usagi always shows up too late, unlike her master, who protected humans until they betrayed him. Usagi argues that as divines, their job is to fight against the vile, and using their powers to destroy the world goes against their duty. But Yuri says she only learned her master's skills and didn't take on the title of divine, so she's not bound by their rules. The fight continues, and Yuuya copies a move Usagi used earlier, creating an opening for Usagi to land a strong hit on Yuri. But Yuri refuses to give up, tapping into the power of the vile. She lets out a scream that almost knocks Yuuya off his feet and charges at Usagi. They exchange blows, and things start to look bad for Usagi until Akatsuki jumps in, using his Holy Ground skill to weaken Yudi's power. This gives Yuuya a chance to knock her out. Usagi explains that besides divines, there are also holy beasts that fight against the vile, and it seems Akatsuki is one of them. He says Yudi shouldn't be able to use her vile powers anymore and leaves her for Yuuya to handle. Just then, Kaori rushes over, but a monster appears behind her. Yuuya quickly defeats it with one shot, and Kaori is shocked. Yuuya explains that this is what his life is like in the other world. He asks if she's scared of him now that she's seen him fight and admits that he's been leveling up in this world, feeling like it might make him a cheater. But Kaori reassures him, saying that he's still the same person who saved her before and that she's liked him ever since. And that's where this video ends. Watch this next video until some other time.
Take